River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I'm Dan here along with Eric. Eric, say hello.
What's up, everybody?
Off the top, apologies for no episode yesterday, guys. We had to cancel very suddenly, and James, in rescheduling, is not here with us. That's all I'll say on that. James should be with us next week, but that's all I'll leave it at there. But in lieu of that, that's why we're here today. And we are going to be having our bet episode on Friday still. We are waiting to see if the fun props are going to actually be posted or if we're going to have to get a little more creative, so to say. So that's a little peek behind the curtain I'm starting this episode with. But for today, we're just kind of freeforming this one, guys. Trust me, we've been thinking about we had to rearrange some plans, and I've been trying to spin the wheels thinking about like a specific thing to talk about, and like it kept bouncing off my head as, well, I mean, why is that more important than the Super Bowl? Or, well, we kind of covered that with the Super Bowl recap or with our Super Bowl predictions. So honestly, like with everything that's gone on this week and just the fact that we're waiting for the Super Bowl, like clearly that's the only thing on our mind. I figure I mean, I'm clearly not excited at all.
Right.
I figured Eric, you and I could just talk about like just whatever's like on our mind, like as we're sitting here patiently waiting. Like first off, we didn't care about the Pro Bowl. I mean,
No.
In our text chain, I was the only one that was acknowledging like people that got Pro Bowl nods, and then I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't even watch any of the highlights on YouTube even, so I didn't care about the flag football game. How's your relationship with the Pro Bowl?
I mean, I guess I think the Pro Bowl voting is like interesting just in the sense that like they really try hard to get fans engaged now and make fans a part of it. And the fan vote is like a certain weighted percentage of the whole overall vote now. So, I mean, I think that's good for the sport. And I think that's a fun fan engagement aspect to it. I actually do like the changes that they've made to the Pro Bowl in the last, I guess, probably 2 years, maybe it's been 3 years or whatever, whenever it was that they finally admitted that the whole game that they were playing was just a sham, and that they've gone to this like skills competition, flag football kind of thing. I actually do like the concept. I don't know that the NFL does a good job of marketing it. I think they did a better job this year. I will fully admit that last year I had no idea that like any of that stuff was occurring. And then like one day I saw highlights and I was like, oh, well, I want to watch that. And I was like, what do you mean it already had happened? I had no idea that it even occurred. So the marketing on it last year I thought was terrible. I thought the marketing on it was better this year. I did catch a couple of clips this year of some things, and it looked like it was fun. Is the best way that I can describe it. It looks like the players are having fun. It looks like the fans that are there are having fun. It doesn't look like anybody's taking themselves really seriously, and everybody kind of looks like they're just there to have a good time and understands that it's about just kind of chilling and being in the moment and doing something to entertain everybody that's there. And I like that aspect of it. If you compare it to like NBA All-Star Weekend or even NHL All-Star Weekend, they've really done a good job of creating activities and events and stuff to really bring in and engage the fans. And for the longest time, the Pro Bowl wasn't really that. It was just some sort of like, random game that happened at the end of the season for the longest period of time, right? Like it used to happen after the Super Bowl when I was a kid. It was just supposed to be a showcase of superstars. And for a while, it was, but then eventually the superstars started opting out. And then you had the guy, making his Pro Bowl start. And you were like, really? Like that guy's in the Pro Bowl? That seems strange. But he was like the ninth alternate. So you're like, oh, okay, whatever. And so it just got very... You're right. Yeah. I mean, it just got very watered down from lack of participation. And then, players and teams started taking it less and less serious. And so it became, not even as much of a game anymore. And it just wasn't entertaining and interesting to watch. So I love the fact that they've at least taken some new concepts and new ideas and tried to make it into this fun thing, more akin to what the NBA and what the NHL do, because their All-Star weekends are really engaging. I mean, I don't follow the NBA really at all, but I still always know when NBA All-Star weekend is, and I still pretty much always, if I don't watch the dunk contest live, I catch it on a YouTube rerun because it's just a fun, engaging segment. And a lot of times I watch the 3-point contest too, because it's a fun, engaging fan segment. I mean, it's just, I like the things that they do. So I didn't catch a lot of stuff this year, but I was intrigued by what I saw. I would probably, I guess another aspect is I don't actually have cable right now. So it makes it very hard for me to actually watch those things because they were locked onto ESPN.
Right.
Given the news that we were just talking about before we came on the show here, if I can get that ESPN All Sports app next year and have that available to me, I probably would turn it on when it came on next year. If I was around the house and wasn't really doing anything, it wouldn't be appointment viewing for me, but I'd probably watch it. The bits and pieces that I saw were enough to make me be like, I'd check that out.
Well, thinking of All-Star Weekend, dude, just hop in your car like right now. It's literally happening like 4 miles away from me. I've seen. I actually had to go to the airport. I had to go to the airport a couple weeks ago, and they had already they constructed already half of the full court.
Oh yeah. In the
right
airport?
In the center of the airport. Yeah, they had half the court ready by the time of the trip I had to go on. But yeah, they got the huge decal on the JW Marriott, the big blue one that Jim Irsay got built, and there's a bunch of stuff going on downtown. I'm not going to go. It's kind of fun to read about, but like I have things I'm doing, and I'm not the biggest NBA fan. But I mean, I don't know if we're host sitting next year, but maybe next year is just But no, just hop in your car and head on over. It's happening at Greenbridge. But no, I agree with you too about the Pro Bowl. It has been a really fascinating progression to see where it's at now. Like players, whether they really just didn't care about the game or if it was like a legit safety concern. Because I believe it that you don't want to get injured in a game where you're only playing for the second place gets 20K and the first place gets 50K or whatever the bonus is. Like, so I wasn't really so much aware about it not being that fan friendly back in the past. So that's kind of interesting to hear because it does seem a lot more fan friendly. Like even when it was in Orlando, for a brief spell, I was in Orlando. It just never worked out for me to go. But if it has become more fan focused and for the players more like networking and fun focused, like I can't speak to how much fun it is as a consumer to watch versus just watching clips on YouTube. But I mean, if it's going to be something that's more enticing for them to have fun and actually network, then no, I hope that they keep trying to figure out ways to innovate and keep it as a thing because the honor of being a Pro Bowler, I think, should still be something that a player strives for. And I hope that they don't scrap it entirely. That would just be really sad to me if you're only relying on all pro nods. But yeah, no, fixing it so we're not getting to the 5th and 6th string player getting to say that they're a Pro Bowler because some people left for legitimate reasons. Like I think Dak was having a kid. Like, I mean, leaving for legitimate reasons, but when a player says they're not going to the Pro Bowl for injury, no, you're not. You just don't want to go. Don't lie. Like, we know you're lying.
Yeah. No, just like when it was out in Hawaii all those years, players went because, basically,
it was a vacation.
Yeah, it was a big fancy paid for vacation. They could bring their family along and stuff like that. But it didn't have all of that fan engagement because it was out on Hawaii, right? I mean, there's not a lot of people making the pilgrimage to go to friggin' Hawaii to go watch the NFL Pro Bowl. I mean, that's just not something that's going to happen. It's just so far out. It's so remote. It was really something that was, for the West Coast people and then obviously the citizens of the state of Hawaii. So then once they moved it down to Orlando and made it more within the confines of the 48 states, it just opened things up and made it so much more accessible to the general public. And that's when they really expanded everything that they wanted to do. And then plus they changed, I mean, obviously they changed the whole format around and made it, so it was much more interactive events and stuff like that. I mean, like the precision passing challenge was the one that I saw a lot of. That was fun. I mean, that was fun watching the quarterbacks try to throw and hit these targets and score these points. And it was hilarious watching Dan Orlovsky, who hasn't played a down of football for 10 years, outscore everyone that actually played in the precision passing challenge. That to me is hilarious. That's fun, engaging content.
Yeah, no, completely. I actually did see one. I did see one that popped up on my Facebook while I was just scrolling through it. It was a kicker tic-tac-toe between Dallas's kicker and Tucker, Justin Tucker. That was kind of cool to watch, honestly. Like,
so how did that work? Did they have just something in the goalpost and then they had to kick through the net like in the tic-tac-toe things?
It was two goalposts with 9 video screens, and when the football hit the screen, they would just flip the graphic to if Dallas or no, who was the AFC kicker? I don't remember who the AFC kicker was anymore, but the AFC kicker would get, when Tucker would hit a square, it would be an A, and then when Bryson or whatever his name is, when he hit a square, it turned into an N.
Okay.
And yeah, that was kind of cool. If it they actually didn't count it if it hit like in between the screens, like there was a little bezel in between the screens, and they actually counted that as a miss because one of them didn't hit any square like squarely, and so they just let him re-kick.
See, like I remember them talking about that event, but I had forgotten about that event. But that event sounds fun to watch. Like I want to see kickers like show off. You know what I mean? Like, watch me do this. I'm going to kick one. I'm going to hit the upper left-hand corner. Well, that's right on the screen, but you get the idea. I'm going to hit the upper left-hand corner and turn that one into an A. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see that kind of skill. Like, that's
precision kicking is more impressive to me than precision throwing. Like, you're not just trying to get through the field goal. You're trying to hit low, high, medium. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, I would be intrigued to watch that. Like, now that you mentioned that, I'm kind of like, I might go look that up on YouTube because I kind of want to see that. So, I mean, I just think that
in the dodgeball game.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's enough that they're doing there with these weird, wacky type of events that it just draws people in and it gets some people going and it gives those football players an opportunity to show off their personality. Lord knows a lot of these guys have big personalities and a lot of marketability, and this is an opportunity for them to shed all of the pads, shed the helmet, that kind of shields them, and is a disadvantage for them from a lot of the other organizations. Again, NHL, MLB, NBA, those guys are all, you can see them the whole time, right? NFL, you're wearing the helmet, so you can't really see a guy lots of times, and this gives them a chance to be really marketable, and I like that they can take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think it's a promising thing. Like champion's not the right word I'm looking for, but I will advocate that I want the Pro Bowl to keep innovating and keep being an honor, and still be a fun thing for them to do. And like it looks like the 2 years. This is only the second year it's been the games, right? Or has it been 3 years?
Yeah. I think it's 2. I'm not positive.
Okay.
It has to be only 2 because I don't think they did it it wasn't even a thing in the pandemic year, and then I don't think they did it the first year.
Right. And I'm glad they went back to Orlando because Orlando was a very smart choice to move it to Orlando versus, because I remember I think it was Vegas last year and then they moved it back to Orlando. I hope they do what they do with the combine and just keep it in Orlando. Like that's a very incentive place for these Pro Bowlers to take their families because they got Universal, they got Disney, they got SeaWorld. Then there's the actual Pro Bowl itself, the Pro Bowl itself. That stadium is beautiful, by the way. The Orange Bowl, it was called Camping World when I was there last, but no, the football stadium in Orlando is really nice. So, and then it's now the Kia Center. I almost called it the Amway Center. It's the Kia Center now. If they do anything in there, the Kia Center's nice. Like I don't know. I still have a little soft spot in my heart for Orlando because I was there for 5 years.
Yeah. So, they could keep it in Orlando. They could move it around to some high profile places and make it fun. You could obviously do that in New York if you could host it indoors, right? You could host it in one of the indoor stadiums there. Obviously, Vegas is always going to be an option for hosting stuff. You could host it in California in a stadium there.
I'm not gonna pretend that Vegas is off the table, especially after the Super Bowl. How we're gonna see it play out in 5 days, like obviously Vegas is on the table for anything NFL now since they don't care about gambling.
yeah. All they care about gambling is that they get that extra DraftKings money in their pocket. So
I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they are going to do their best to still maintain the integrity of the game, but I mean, I'm not trying to sound cynical, but like at the same time, I think you're a fool if something doesn't happen to come up like sooner than later. Like how everybody wrote that was writing Sean McVay for ruining the spread when we played them.
Yeah, I mean,
let's just wait for something serious to happen though, like with something more high stakes than a week 2 game.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable that a referee at some point in time is going to try and fix a football game. It's inevitable in some way, shape, or form. But from an individual like player perspective, really the only one you can do that with is a quarterback. I mean, like everybody else, like I don't know how you would, like if I'm a receiver, like how am I gonna fix? I mean, like the only thing I can do is drop passes.
Right.
Like I can't like intentionally go score. I mean, I'm always trying my best to score. So the only thing that I can do is drop passes. I could get tackled easier, I guess. I could go down early, I guess. But I mean, all I can do are negative things to impact the game. I can't ever do anything extra that's positive, if that makes sense the way that I'm explaining that.
Yeah, you can't you can only control so much. I understand what you're trying to say. Like, and the people who have the most control are the coaches, the refs, and the quarterback. Pretty much like we'll flip the refs. The refs have the most, the coach have second most, the quarterback's got the third most control. And like outside of that, your impact in theory is very minimal.
Yeah, you're just not going to be able to sway the game that much. I mean, like maybe if you're like a Christian McCaffrey who you know is going to get the ball.
Fourth. The kicker's fourth.
Yeah, I mean, you could intentionally miss stuff as a kicker. But at the same time, like think about how often, like how many games a season come down to a kicker making a kick too. You know what I mean? Like just because
1 week we had like 5 of those in a row, like 5 of those in 1 week, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then there's like weeks that go on where there's none that happen. So I mean, like just because the game is 21-10 and I'm coming in to kick, well, okay, do I still miss this kick or do I make this kick? Because I mean, if I miss this kick, we're still down 11 points and the spread is 4. So I mean, like I could go ahead and make this kick. Oh well, shoot! Now we've scored a touchdown later on, and now like it's the whole dilemma of. But again, you're really only able to negatively impact things because all you can do is miss. Because the alternative is you're trying to make kicks. Well, that's your job in the first place is make kicks. So it's not like you can make extra kicks. Whereas if you have like sports like basketball or hockey, as an individual player, there's less players, so you have more impact. And B, you can just have more individual impact. If I'm a basketball player and I'm a good basketball player, like, I mean, it's kind of stupid to pick on a superstar because, like, how are you going to bribe a guy that's making like $50 million a year to throw basketball games? But if I'm a
that 30 for 30 about the ref that was fixing games.
Yeah. But I mean, if I'm a good basketball player, I can be a ball hog one night and I can shoot a whole bunch. I can put up extra shots. I can box out. I can make it really hard for my teammates to get rebounds. I can, not throw assists. I mean, I can pass the ball wildly around. I mean, I can do all sorts of stuff as a basketball player to dramatically impact the game. I can I dribbled the ball off my foot again. I mean, I can turn the ball over a lot more. I mean, I can have a real direct impact on what's happening. Whereas football, there's just so, I don't know. I think it would just be a really hard game to fix as a player. Like I said, unless you're a quarterback, if you're a quarterback, you could be like, oh man, I can't throw the ball. I can't hit anybody, today for a pass at all to save my life. Or, oops, I fumbled that exchange again. I mean, gosh darn, I just got the butterfingers on the ball today. I mean, you can do all that stuff, but again, it's still all negative impacts, right? All you can do is negatively affect things. So, I mean, you're only going to be able to fix things in a certain manner and in a certain way. You're never going to be able to, you're never going to be able to like say, okay, we have to hit the over. Well, I can't really control that because, I can only do so much. And to be honest, you can't even really control that you hit the under because like you might throw a pass to a guy thinking, oh, okay, it's just a little 5-yard slant, who cares? Oh, and then boom, Debo breaks 3 tackles and takes it to the house. And you're like, well, shoot, that was supposed to just be a little 5-yard slant to, make it look like I'm doing my job out here. And meanwhile, the guy just took it for 7 to the house. And now we went over. Oh, what am I going to do? I mean, like, it's just so hard. I don't like, that's why I said, like you kind of said, like the refs, I think would be the big one. Cause you could call flags on stuff and you can, not call flags, right? You could definitely influence how a game is called that way. And then, like you said, coaches by, just how you call the plays, like, oh, this is our 40th running play in a row. And it's like, what are they doing? I mean, it's like, well, this is our strategy for today.
Right.
So, but I think as a player in football, it would just be really, really hard. But to the NFL's credit, they've just hammered players when they've bet on sports. So,
oh yeah, and the same with staff, because I listen to the Around the NFL podcast, like not religiously, but and Rich Eisen too talks about like, I do not endorse gambling. I do not endorse gambling. Like they say it they try to go out of their way to say it very, very clearly because they're under contract with the NFL, obviously, and they follow the same they fall under the same rules, even though at the same time they'll reference the spread from DraftKings or they'll ask what Vegas thinks about. But we don't endorse gambling, even though our employer is definitely in bed with DraftKings and FanDuel. Like,
yeah. Even though Roger Goodell is snuggled up to the CEO of DraftKings,
right? I do want to segue this because I mentioned conspiracy theory. Because I think it's just kind of entertaining. I don't want to just explicitly ask like how like you filter the noise or if the noise affects you, because I mean, I'll admit when I was during the other 2 Super Bowls that we had, like maybe it's young naivety, but like sometimes the noise would get to me like while we were listening to the game and like hearing so many other perspectives and like just and idle hands are a bad thing, and I just get thinking and overthinking and just driving myself crazy. But I obviously still think we're going to win, but it's been very entertaining to listen to some of the conspiracy theories surrounding, like, say, the terrible field that we have at UNLV versus the Chiefs getting the Raiders practice facility. And then Taylor Lewan, I saw, was talking about how this game is destined to be the Chiefs because of Taylor Swift, because guess what? When you add 8 and 7 of Travis Kelce's uniform, it's 13. We're playing on February 11th. 11 plus 2, 13. And then Taylor just won the Grammy for Best Album, and there's a bunch of other like number 23 or Beautiful Mind, like seeing all the numbers in the sky. Like, it's just been really, I don't know, it's just been really funny to hear all that. And I mean, I was a little concerned about the field, but that was more for a health standpoint because God forbid we get to the Super Bowl with a clean bill of health. Like, can we please just can we avoid the players getting hurt in the practice field when literally the only people that we have hurt right now are the ones that are on IR? Like,
yeah. I don't really buy into all that conspiracy stuff. I don't think the NFL writes a script for games. I don't.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, I don't think that any of that is faked or predetermined. It's not friggin' pro wrestling or anything like that. But it's not like Roger Goodell's like Vince McMahon, like, oh, I'm telling you what today. I mean, well, let's hope Roger Goodell's not like Vince McMahon.
I was going to say, I really hope he's not Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
After what we just read about him.
Yeah, there's a whole nother podcast that we can do on that.
I think James would want to step out if we actually went whole hog into that story. Holy crap.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think people just look for kind of like we're doing today, right? You're just like, you're at the wit's end. Everything there is to talk about has been talked about. You're just like looking for content. You're looking for something to speak on. You're trying to find some sort
Are
of
we
story
just
somewhere.
are we just adding to the noise? Like,
It's technically yes, today we are, but that's
Like-
okay. I mean, I don't get all the hate that people give for Taylor Swift. I mean, so what? She's Travis Kelce's girlfriend. She shows up to games. You know what? It actually makes the NFL more interesting for a whole new group of people and a whole new group of fans. And if they want to watch it because they're interested and they think that they're going to show Taylor Swift on the screen for 3 total minutes of the Super Bowl, and that gets them interested in watching the game, well, then who the hell cares? Watch the game. I know my daughter, when she found out the Chiefs were going to be in the Super Bowl, she was like, oh, does that mean Taylor Swift is going to be there? I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's going to be there. She's like, well, I want to watch the Super Bowl then. I was like, great. I am excited to watch the Super Bowl with you. Now my daughter's going to watch the Super Bowl with me, right? I mean, previous to that, if I just told her that the 49ers and the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, it's like 50-50 on whether or not she would have wanted to watch the Super Bowl with me. She's kind of gotten more into at least being interested in football. She at least asks me about it. She asks me if the 49ers have won. She asked me if the 49ers are playing this weekend, stuff like that. And she sat down and watched maybe like a quarter of football with me a couple of times this season. But, you know, this was a prime opportunity to get her engaged, and she'll probably watch the whole game now because she's going to want to see any minute of time that they might show Taylor Swift on the screen. And so, you know, yay. Thank you, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more either. It's getting so blown out of proportion. Like, in the anger, I've seen a lot of misguided anger, which even the misguided anger, if you aim it towards like the broadcasters, why wouldn't the broadcasters show her? Like, she literally is the biggest star in the freaking world right now. Like,
Yeah.
And no, they're not. Like, I could empathize with, I want my game to be my game, while you're also the same people that were saying you weren't going to watch football after Kaepernick. Not to open that can of worms, but no, it's stupid to get mad at her. Like, the NFL should be thrilled, not just from the financial standpoint, but like you said, think of the longevity after all the concussion stuff and all the safety talk that like CTE and medical side of it, getting a generation interested in football that can continue on not only just the game, but maybe someone down the line is going to figure out the innovative way that helps with CTE and head safety. Like, you say you want to innovate along the way, you gotta get people interested in football. And if Taylor Swift is going to be the reason that somebody cares about either the science of football, the marketing of football, or just cheering on and playing football, this is a net positive for freaking everybody. Like,
Yeah.
And no, she wasn't on this. She's not on the screen that much. And all she's doing is just being a supportive girlfriend. She's not holding up a sign that says my new album drops April 14th or whatever day the new album's coming out. Like,
right.
I don't know. It's so ridiculous. I mean, I'll admit I did have to go a full circle on it, because no, at first, like, okay, yeah, I was a little worried about, like, oh great, the Chiefs are already obnoxious enough. Now Taylor Swift's on their side, but no, we're blowing this way the hell out of proportion.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the NFL covets the women demographic too, to try to get them to watch football and get them more interested. And obviously Taylor Swift typically appeals to the women's demographic. So I mean, it certainly makes sense that they would spend, 3 minutes over the course of a 3 hour plus football broadcast, showing her celebrating, showing her.
We're not missing any action. Not missing any actual plays.
Yeah, it's not like we're in the middle of like Purdy dropping back and they're like, oh my God, look at Taylor in the booth up there. I mean, like,
the game is still broadcasted. You're just seeing her before you see the bumper ad for Burger King. Like,
yeah.
Like,
I mean, like, instead of seeing some other schmuck like me in the stands, you're looking at Taylor Swift. Like, I don't understand why this is a big deal.
I would low-key want to hear her do play-by-play instead of Tony Romo. I'm just throwing that out there. My opinion of Tony Romo's drastically changed since he first started in the booth.
Oh, we get Romo and Nance for the Super Bowl, don't we? Isn't that right? I forgot about that.
The game is I'm gonna be watching it on Paramount if the app doesn't crash, which hopefully it doesn't. But It's also going to be on Univision, Nickelodeon. Dude. Okay, full disclosure. If our team wasn't in it, I would very much consider watching it on Nickelodeon. Because the last time I watched a Nickelodeon game that didn't have the Niners, I kind of had fun. It was a little childish, for lack of a better word. Like
it's Nickelodeon.
It got a little old getting like, and this guy's called the center. Like, okay, I know all this stuff. I know this is for children, and like, so I don't hold that against them. But when we played Dallas 2 years ago, I tried to watch the game on Nickelodeon for the lulz, but then because it like went down to the wire, like at the start of the fourth quarter, like I was so furious and nervous, I couldn't handle the little kid broadcasters. I had to flip it back.
That's fair. Did you ever watch the Manning cast when Peyton and Eli do the Manning cast?
I honestly never have.
That's really good.
My dad, when he was still with us, my dad loved it. My mom still watched it this year, but she said it wasn't quite as good this year as last year. But I mean, whenever I did, I hardly watched any Monday Night Football, to be honest, this year. I just always went with Joe and Troy, or I already forgot who was before, Booger and whoever. But no, yeah. I just never really gave the Manning cast a chance. Is it worth going into next year with it?
I always watch, if it's not a Niners game, I watch the Manning cast. It's highly entertaining. Eli and Peyton are hilarious, but
you go to Joe and Troy when it's our game.
Yeah. Well, because I don't want to be distracted. Like Eli and Peyton, like when you watch the Manning cast, you're kind of like watching them, and like the football game is in the background, if that makes any sense. Like because they're like talking, and you're kind of paying attention to them, and you're listening to them, and you're like, oh yeah, there's a football game happening. That's right. I'm watching that as well. So like when it's our game, I like to concentrate on the game itself. But
yeah, that was my thought on it 2 years ago. Like if I did watch Monday Night Football, I very rarely watched it this year, but I like to worry about the game. Like if I want to see a person's interview, I'll see if it's on YouTube. Like I saw some clips go viral. Like Tua brought out the ukulele one week, which was kind of funny, but just I'm not trying to say don't watch it. Like I don't know, just not my cup of tea. Usually when I watch a sport, I kind of want to watch the sport, you know?
Yeah, no, that's fair. But
it's a cool alternative for people. Like, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, Peyton and Eli have a really good, I mean, obviously their brotherly relationship helps, but they have a really good banter back and forth between the two of them, and they rib each other pretty good and get some good jokes in. And then depending on who the guest is, you know, the guest either really gets the show or they don't, right? You know, the guest understands that it's supposed to be really goofy and lighthearted. They'll come on and they'll tell some sort of oddball off the wall story or whatever and get a good reaction out of Peyton and Eli out of it or something like that. So it can be a really good time. It's like they've had Brady on there before, and when Brady's on there with them, it's just hilarious because of the dynamic between Peyton and Brady, and then the dynamic between Brady and Eli is like two different things, right? So I mean, like it's really hilarious.
The real rivalry versus the guy that beat me twice in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like you can be sure that like when Brady was on there, like Eli like got in like a couple digs at him, like, well, you know, I do have those 2 Super Bowl rings, you know. It's like like little things like that, and it was just like, oh man, I was like, that's just so harsh.
That's so funny. Thinking of Brady, that's actually you just made me think of this. How do you feel about Tom Brady replacing Greg Olsen this upcoming season on Fox?
You know, I thought that Olsen was a pretty good announcer, to be honest. He did a lot of the Niners games. So I
did too. I'm honestly really bummed out. Like, I mean, if Tom Brady is a good color commentator, like, cool, fine. Like, he's automatically going to be with Kevin. Like, if he's good at his job, that'll help me forgive it. But yeah, that's how I feel. I feel really bad for Greg because Greg and Kevin were my favorite commentators this year.
Yeah, I agree. You just kind of don't know. I mean, I've not really seen Brady do any real TV. I mean, I've seen him do like a crap ton of commercials, and he seems to do fine in those. He's played both the straight man and the funny man in commercials. So, I mean, he seems to be able to kind of adapt in both roles, but I don't know how well he's going to do as an analyst, like breaking down a game and talking about the different aspects of what's going on. Lord knows he's smart enough and knows enough about offense and theoretically knows enough about defense from beating them for years on end that he should be able to tell you anything about everything that happens on the football field. And I would love him to bring back that aspect of the broadcast. It just remains to be seen whether or not he can communicate that across in a way that sort of kind of makes sense and can the layman like you and I can really like understand. But, you know, I love a guy that kind of breaks down like the X's and O's of a play. Like I'll shit on Collinsworth. Oh, sorry, earmuffs. I'll shit on earmuffs again. For my bad. On Collinsworth for a minute, you know, he ups everybody and like everybody's the greatest player that's ever played in the NFL and the best guy ever at that position. And oh my God, he's never seen anybody do something that guy's ever done before. But
that's the greatest catch I've ever seen. Every time Patrick throws.
Yeah, but when he actually does pause all that crap for a minute and like break down the X's and O's of a play, like dude knows what he's talking about. Like he really illustrates the play, and you can go, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about there. I see how they did the defense there, and I see how the offense. Oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Good, okay, makes sense. Oh, yeah, okay. Patrick Mahomes, greatest guy ever walked on water again. Okay,
at least he's aware the internet's making fun of him. I forgot what game it was, but he said something along the lines of like, "Yeah, no, I'm aware you all know I love Patrick Mahomes. I get it."
That's funny. Well, you brought up Brady, and so I'll bring up another Brady topic, and maybe this can be how we close things out. What did you think of the news that came out? I don't remember if it was. I think it was last week. The news that came out that Kyle admitted that he tried to land Brady for this year, and Brady said no.
Oh, dude. Did we talk about the other nugget from Jed York too? Because I think both of these things would be great to close the show with. I don't remember if we did.
No, we didn't.
Okay, well, here we go. A nice little Niners bow on the end of this episode. This little, not mailbag, but you know, I remember hearing all the murmurs that we were trying to get him. I think even before this year that Kyle's admitted to, because I thought we were trying to get him even sooner. But no, to hear them fully admit, like, I mean, I don't blame him. Like, I'm not mad. Like, you didn't know how Purdy was going to be. You knew Purdy's ceiling, or theoretical ceiling. He did really good for 7 games until he busted his elbow. But Jimmy did really good for 5 games. And then we know the whole Jimmy story. When you're comparing anybody to Tom Brady, are we surprised? Like, it's more surprising that more people aren't admitting. Like, it's kind of a moot point. Like, I get why, like, it doesn't matter. You didn't get him. But no, I wasn't remotely surprised. Like, if we got him, I definitely would have had mixed feelings. Like, because it being in Indiana, it's kind of ingrained in us to hate Tom Brady. But so I would have had mixed feelings for sure. But no, them admitting it, like, cool. I love how transparent our ownership and our leadership is. Like, why wouldn't you have tried? Like, you didn't know what you were going to get from Purdy, and clearly you wrote off Trey Lance even sooner than you're willing to admit. Like, yeah, I don't blame you at all. Like, in tying that into Purdy, Jed York admitting that Kyle last training camp, Kyle came up to him and said, "Dude, I'm going to keep the roster as it is." I think at the time Trey was number 1 and they hadn't got Jimmy yet. But he was like, "Dude, I'm not going to rock the boat. I'm going to try to work Trey because we paid so much for him, but Brock Purdy's the best quarterback on our roster." Like, yeah, that was an amazing admission. I cannot believe that all the way back then that Kyle, like, he was already like so gung-ho on Purdy. Like, I thought we kept him on the roster just because on the pregame tape, you could just see, you could be a novice at football and know that Purdy was playing better than Nate Sudfeld. But yeah, no, I didn't. That was such a fascinating nugget. Like, did your jaw hit the floor when you heard Jed say that?
Not really. And I say that just because of how well Purdy has played. So, I mean, I think if Purdy had sort of more organically blossomed maybe into this role, and like he had taken over as the starter and he'd kind of really struggled to like get along, and like all throughout the season he had kind of just grown, and as we got to the end of the season he had morphed into this good starting quarterback, then I would be surprised. But from the moment he stepped on the field for Garoppolo when he got injured in the Miami game, and then taking over those next few weeks, it was just kind of like, whoa, like, man, like we're flying now. Like, I mean, our offense was doing things that it hadn't done in ever. And, you kind of just kept waiting, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, backup quarterbacks come in and do this kind of stuff. It happens. They come in, have a 1, 2, 3 game run, and then finally defensive coordinators get some tape on them, and then it goes to crap, and it's all over, right? And then we got past the 3rd game mark, and Purdy was still doing well. We got past the 4th game mark, and still doing well, and 5th and 6th, and we just kept going, and it was like, okay, like kid's really legit, like he can ball. And we had the playoff game against the Seahawks where we were down early on, and he came back, and we played much better in the second half, and he had a great second half. There was the Thanksgiving game, which I think was also against Seattle, which was on the short week, which was his big real first test. It was on the road against a rival on a short week, all that
Our
kind of stuff.
Our division was on the line. We could win it that night if we won that game.
Yeah, I mean, like there was all sorts of like markers that like he came up across in that season, and he just hit them, and I was just like, oh, okay. And then to carry that through into this season and have him play so spectacularly all this season long,
after a catastrophic surgery.
Yeah. It doesn't at all surprise me to hear Kyle say, yeah, I knew that guy was the guy even back then, because I'm sure in practices compared to Trey, no shade on Trey, you just not good enough. And, compared to Jimmy, who is all right, but just is very limited.
We knew who Jimmy was after 5 years. We knew exactly who he was.
Yeah. I mean, you could just anybody can see the difference in the way those guys play. So it doesn't surprise me at all. So it was interesting to hear. I mean, it's cool that Kyle was able to be that honest about his feelings at that time. But I'm not surprised that he was able to see that in Brock that early on. I think that he's just kind of attacked things that way and always performed in a way that stands out enough that really shows. So I think the whole Brady thing too is interesting as well. I mean, it kind of came full circle, right? Because in 2020, Brady wanted to come to the Niners and they told him no. They turned him down for Jimmy, which, yeah.
In hindsight, not as bad as the D Ford trade, but
yeah. So I mean,
Jimmy got us to a Super Bowl at least. D Ford played like 10 games.
Yeah. So I mean, kind of full circle in how we asked him to come here, or he wanted to come here and we said no, and then we asked him to come here and then he said no. It doesn't surprise me that they reached out to him. You had Brock coming off of that major elbow surgery. Nobody had any idea what to expect, if he was even going to be able to throw a ball again, or what his career would be like after having that kind of a surgery. So, I mean, it makes sense that you would reach out to literally the greatest quarterback. I mean, I'm sitting here wearing my throwback 49ers coat, and I'm about to say sacrilege that Montana is not the greatest quarterback of all time, but records and Super Bowl wise and all that sort of stuff, Brady is the guy.
One of the greatest players to ever touch a football. That's fair to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, like when that guy's just sitting around on his couch, like, of course you've got to make that phone call and be like, hey man, what are you doing? You want to come chill with us? Like, we're built for a Super Bowl run. Like, come come be the missing piece. And I don't think that's any shade on Brock. I don't think that's any disparaging, thoughts against him. It was just like, dude, we don't know what to expect. We don't even know when you're going to be ready. So, I mean, we have to have a backup plan. And well, if the backup plan is the greatest player that's living currently that can play, then why would we not try to explore that option? So, I mean,
from a business standpoint, I don't know anybody that would disagree with reaching out to Tom. That's just, that would be stupid to not, with how talented our roster is, how we retained key pieces so well over the years and really have had no drop off outside of how just bizarre 2020 went. Why wouldn't we have reached out to him if Brady felt that he physically could still perform? Why the hell not?
Yeah. The ironic,
take emotions out of it. Try to get him.
Yeah. The ironic thing about that is I think we'd be in the same spot. I mean, really? I mean, I think Brock has had a good enough season and played well enough. I think the numbers might have, joshed around a little bit differently, maybe a little bit more touchdowns, maybe a little bit less interceptions, maybe a little more yards, whatever, just because Brady plays a little bit differently. But I don't think that our record would have been much different. We were 12-5 this season. I think maybe 13-4. Okay, whoopty ding dong. What's one more win, really? I mean, but we're still sitting here. We're what's today? Tuesday. We're like 5 days away from the Super Bowl. We've got as good a chance to win this game as anybody else does. Our team is favored still at the moment from the last time that I looked. We're coming in.
I think we're still 2-point favorites.
Yeah, we're coming in with all the offensive firepower, all the defensive firepower.
Everybody not on IR is healthy.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, knock on wood, we've got the health, right there with us and everything. So, I mean, like, we didn't land Brady, okay, and we ended up right where we wanted to be anyways as a team. So, I think it's a fun story. It's an interesting nugget. It's exciting to talk about. Ultimately, I think the team made the right choice to try to reach out, and if he would have came here, I think we would be in a very similar spot. But we're here where we are now. I'm excited. I can't wait for Sunday. I'm super pumped. I think it's going to be a hell of a game, and we're going to see what shakes out.
Oh, dude, I can't wait either. I have faith in our team. I'm just hearing all this Chiefs stuff now. I can't wait to have all those Chiefs fans shut up. I think
that's the case. Let's hope that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed. Obviously, I'm but I'm not superstitious. My fiance shows me a bunch of like, I don't know. My fiance gets into that and like the astral zodiac signs. Jesus Christ. She's more into that stuff than I am, but yeah, I'm a little superstitious. I'm knocking on my wood table.
Yeah.
But no, I think this is a good note to end on for this little kind of grab bag, not a mail bag, but no, I think this was fun. I think this is nice to get some talk in that's not just adding to the rehashing. Oh, well, I think because we're fifth here and then they're 32nd, no, we just like I said last week, let's enjoy the hype. We are coming back Friday for another episode. We might have to ad-lib it a little bit, though, if we can't do some bets that we want to. But you'll all find that out on Friday.
It'll be a surprise for everyone.
Oh, yeah. And James will be back next week. He's not going to be with us on the Friday episode. But yeah, no, we probably will go live after the Super Bowl, especially if we win. But yeah, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, even though that's exactly what I'm doing. Let's go ahead and talk about our sponsor, RoyalRetros.com. What is Royal Retros? It is your go-to place to get an authentic throwback jersey. Obviously, if you're a football fan, but they also cover basketball, baseball, hockey, all the major sports. And for us Niners fans, check out the Candlestick collection that's up there right now. It's all curated with the Bay Area in mind.
It's so hard to do this on the camera.
Right.
It's like all backwards and stuff. I give up.
Yeah, you have to. It's like pilot. What do they call it for video games? Like pilot mode. Like,
yeah, I can't do it. I tried.
But anyway, use the promo code JD Sports when you find something you like. Throw it in your cart and use that code to get 10% off of your entire order. Again, it's promo code JD Sports when you check out to get 10% off of your entire order. It helps us out. It helps Shady Sports, our parent network, out, and you get a cool jersey. So again, just visit royalretros.com and use promo code Shady Sports. Go get yourself a throwback jersey today. Guys, also, we are still continuing our charity. We are in the waning hours of it. That was part of our little scheduling stuff that was going on, just a part of it, not the whole thing. But for now, the charity is still going on for you to go get shirts for, well, what we're raising awareness of. And what is that? If you're a new listener, we were inspired by, there we go. Didn't have that ready. We were inspired by Daniel Snyder by extension, but also Tepper being an idiot and Irsay kind of being an idiot, and Jed York, who we just kind of talked about, getting involved in some shady stuff, along with the Texans minority owner. We basically want to hold owners to the same standards that they hold players to. When players get in trouble, we find out literally like that day. But when it comes to executives, owners, minority owners, it gets swept under the rug, and it takes forever to come back out. So we think that owners need to be held to the same standards as players. So that's why we started #owner accountability, owner standards over player standards. Am I breaking up too much? I thought my internet was fixed and I'm good. Okay. Good. Spectrum. This has already gone better than my last episode. But anyway, here's the shirts, guys. They are on bonfire.com. This is the standard shirt, so to say. It's got owner standards over player standards, #owner accountability. This has the most variety of colors. You can get it in different styles, like a long sleeve, short sleeves, hoodie. All the proceeds for these shirts I'm about to show you are going to our Kentucky Crisis Center that we will have on the show here not too long from now. The next shirt is our cover art that you see listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere that you get your podcast audio-wise. The next shirt is our alternate logo with the field goals added into it, or the goalposts added into it. I think it looks personally beautiful in that red color, but you see you got a little bit of a variety there. And then our last shirt is our peanut mascot eating a bowl of peanuts with his Niners hat, ready to cheer on the Niners as they play the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 58. Guys, these shirts, again, all the proceeds for these shirts go to the Crisis Center in Kentucky that we are partnering with, and they will be on the show. And by the time they're on the show, that's when we're calling it. We thought it was happening sooner than later, but you guys have a little bit longer to help contribute. And again, we don't want any money from these shirts. We want you to have a cool shirt while helping out some families in need. So with that, I already teased that we are still doing our gambling episode, just without James on Friday. And the little bit of news, I know it's a little bit of a news blurb, and it'll definitely be worth diving into once we get more details on it. But you brought to my attention the ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers Discovery. They're diving in to co-head a new sports hub for streaming that has yet to be named yet. We know all the channels that are on there, but we don't know the price point. We don't know when it's planning to drop, things like that. But you seem to particularly pumped about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge for me. I mean, I don't have cable, so I've really had to struggle. I was very fortunate this year because there was the writers' strike and the actors' strike this year, and so ESPN said, "Oh, well, we'll just put all the Monday Night Football games on ABC as well." And I was like, "Oh, yay, good for me," because then I could still watch them. But without cable, I don't get the ESPN stuff. I don't see, like, Pardon the Interruption, some of the other shows that I like to watch, and every now and then I'll just turn on Sports Center for just background noise and things like that. And then I miss, during March Madness, I miss out on the tournament and stuff like that because all I have is CBS and things like that. So it's really great for me. I've been clamoring for a way to just pay singularly for ESPN for quite some time, and the fact that they're going to add in what appears to be ABC and Fox and TNT and TBS as standard stations on top of all the sports offerings that they're going to have on there as well. That makes it an unbelievably sweet package for me as someone who, wants to be able to watch TV and not pay for cable. I think it's great. I'm super excited about it. Can't wait to see what Sports Plus Max channel is it's called or whatever stupid name it ends up having.
And if it drops for like $50, like
I'm gonna say right now, you and I were talking about it. I'm gonna say it's gonna be $24.99 a month. I think it's gonna be really, really expensive. I mean, HBO Max
for a
by
streaming
itself,
service, yeah.
but I mean, HBO Max by itself is like $15.99, I think, without ads, and then like $19.99 if you want the 4K stream.
It's 20 because I get all the. I paid for the tier to make sure I get everything with Dolby Vision and Atmos. That tier is $20.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, think about it. I mean, if you're paying $20 for just HBO Max, like, you're telling me that you're not going to pay $25 or even $29.99 for ESPN plus TNT plus ABC plus whatever the Big Ten network plus, I mean, like, all that stuff that was on there. I mean, it's easily going to be a $24.99, $29.99 bundle, no doubt in my mind, and I'm gonna happily sign up and pay for it.
Well, let's see how much it ends up costing though, because it is a triple-headed venture. Like maybe that'll play into its favor, or not having it as a standalone app. Like if I did have it as like a hub on Max or Hulu, because it said it could be a hub on Hulu, Disney, or Max, which is dumb because Hulu is getting absorbed by Disney as we speak. So there'll be a hub on Disney or Max. Maybe getting it that way will be cheaper. I'm really excited. I can't wait. I'll agree with you. It's probably going to be like $25. That's at least what I'm anticipating too.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, I guess, because all those. So I mean,
that's a lot of different channels with a lot of different owners merging together. So it's probably going to be expensive.
Yeah, but a lot of those streaming companies, all they want to do is get subscribers, right? It's a race to 100 million subscribers. So it's possible that it launches for maybe $19.99 or something less than what you would like, enough that people would be like, oh my God, this is an amazing deal. And then as soon as they get enough people hooked, they're like, oh, by the way, price increase, just like all these other services are doing now. Netflix goes up every year, Max goes up every year, Disney Plus goes up every year. I mean, Disney Plus used to be $7.99. Disney Plus used to be $7.99 when it launched. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, Disney's $79.99. Why would I not pay that? I get the entire Disney library for $8 a month. That's amazing." Now Disney Plus is $12 a month, and people are still just like, "Oh, well, I can't live without my Disney Plus now." So I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of Trojan horsed it and put it in at like $14.99 or something like that to really like hook people in. And like I said, race to 100 million subscribers and then just jack the rates up on everybody after that. But we'll see. But I think it's going to be ridiculous. I shouldn't say ridiculously expensive because I'm going to buy it, whatever it is. But I think it's going to be an expensive premium service. I just don't see how you can combine all of those things and all of the licensing agreements and everything that they have to go together and not have it be very expensive. I just don't. I don't see how you can make that work. I mean, ESPN grabs like $10 a person from a cable subscription as part of their deal now. So I mean, like, they're gonna want at least something similar to that.
Have you seen the price for ESPN Plus not in the Hulu bundle? It is stupid expensive for a
Is it really?
app. Oh my God. The last time Hulu had a price hike, I say Hulu, but I mean Hulu, ESPN, and Disney.
Yeah.
The bundle was still $20, I think, but then that's when Disney went up from $9 to $12, and Hulu alone went up like $2. But I swear, ESPN literally went up like $6. It was.
Oh wow.
Oh, it's insane. You're a crazy person if you get ESPN by itself. Like how expensive it is. Yeah, we're running out of time. I'll screenshot it and send it to you. But when I can find it. But
yeah.
But yeah, no. I obviously when James is back, hopefully. Well, let me rephrase. When James is back and we get more details on this, we're definitely going to dive deeper into this. This is honestly pretty exciting. But yeah, I mean, we all know when the Super Bowl is Sunday at 6:30, and we're going to be back in your ears on Friday. So. Outro music is River Road by Justin Muth. We'll see you on Friday, guys. Beat the Chiefs.
Go Niners.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River road, you got me running all night long. River road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River road, they love the way you whine and cry.